Hey everyone, it's Andrew of Valk9 Designs, and I'm back to show you how I completed the weave that sprawls over this pendant that will be holding in the stone, and then over the tube that is fused to the top here. I'm calling this a weave incorporated tube. It's really, held together by the solder that has fused it to the frame. But yeah, this weave design helps it look like it is incorporated into the design with the wire and stuff. And so it helps it just look more natural, like it's part of the piece instead of just sitting up there like its own separate thing. So I'm going to start with two lengths of 21 gauge square that are attached down to the same point in the frame where my half round wire is attached. I used 13 gauge half round to make the original swirl, and now I'm utilizing 30 gauge to do a weave pattern across all three of these wires to incorporate them all kind of into a sprawling kind of web weave design. I like to call these a web weave just because they remind me of like the webs that extend out and extend into like one direction. And so here I am utilizing that 30 gauge, wrapping it around the 21 gauge on the outside and then into the middle, and then I'm wrapping it underneath the 13 gauge that is already connected to the frame on both ends. I normally don't like to do my weaves like this. It's easier to have all ends of your wires open so that way you're just weaving around them. But for this particular design, I felt the need to put in kind of this first swirl and then have these wires run along that swirl and curve up with it, and then I'm having the weave expand open. And so I'm using a pattern of one time around on the outermost wire of the 21 gauge that's outside on the right, and then I'm also doing one time around on the innermost wire being the half round wire, and then I'm going up to the middle wire, and then I'm doing like twice around that, then back over, just creating a nice spread web weave design here. And I call it a web weave design because it's basically the same design technique that I used in the web weave tutorial. You can search that up as well. But it's basically just an X weave pattern where, the longest length of wire that I have in this weave is the middlemost length of 21 gauge square. So to make it look like it's sprawling out, I'm going to have to cover more length on that middle post because it's longer than the other two wires. And so that's why I'm staying at only once around the outermost wires, and then I'm going like 2 to 3 times to 4 times. Where I'm progressing this weave is on the inner part, so that makes the weave look like it's opening up on the left part, and then it's also opening up on the right part. You're basically doing just that curved weave design that you've seen featured in a lot of the different tutorials, but on both sides here. So if you're starting from that outermost wire, it's going to be once around the outermost, and then 2 times around that middle 21 gauge. Then when you go down to the half round wire, it's going to be once around that, then back up, and then 2 times around, back over to the outermost square wire, and then once around that, back to the middle one, and then progress up to 3 in that middle one, and then continue only wrapping once around the outermost wires, and then progress on the middle wire from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and so on, creating the weave pattern. And then once you've gotten it up to where you feel you're comfortable with, take your wire points to the back and connect it to your frame, so that way it looks like this is splashing over that tube and back to the frame. And so here it is finished. As you can see, those weaves open up on both sides, so it's kind of like a multi-directional weave pattern. I hope you enjoyed this. This was just kind of my concept of incorporating the tube into the frame and making it look like it's held in by the wire. Obviously it's not. It's held in by, soldered components on the back. And so I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to see a bit more detailed view of this weave pattern, I will do a separate tutorial where I am showing this a lot more in depth. Let me know in the comments. Thanks everyone, and have a great weekend.